Hi, it's Psychic Cynthia here, and welcome to another one of my Psychic Herbalism, Healing Herbalism, Magical Herbalism videos. And today I'm going to be harvesting basil. As you can see, I've got a nice pot of it here. It's ready. And I wanted to remind you, I've done videos about this before, but maybe I'll kind of show you on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, it's so ready, I'm just going to cut it back. You can also pick leaves, and I've been doing that, but it's ready. But I'm going to cut it back to a little ways down here. I guess I'll show you here in a minute maybe. And this can regrow some more leaves before the end of the season. There's still enough time, and you can get a whole another little plant out of it. So I'll actually be stripping the leaves because that just makes it easier for drying. Actually, I think I'm going to maybe make some pesto out of this. I'm thinking about that because my pesto supply is getting low. And by the way, did you know that if you like, pesto from your fresh basil, because that store-bought stuff, I don't know about you. I mean, maybe some of the specialty stores, but I look at some of the ingredients in the store-bought pesto, and they're just very low quality. I mean, I wouldn't feed that stuff to a dog. Well, I mean, if I had a dog, he'd probably be eating the best stuff anyway, because I love animals. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there might be some good brands that I don't know of, but making your own is just the way to go. You can use high-quality ingredients, and of course, at least where I live at, we have 4 seasons, which means we have winter, and we don't have basil all the time, okay? So if you want your pesto, and you want to be able to have some of the winter, all you do is just make it up and you freeze it. And I freeze mine into small containers of about 4 tablespoons each. I don't know how much that is in cups or whatever. You can measure it out. The point is think about how much pesto you intend to use at once and freeze it in that amount, because you're going to have to thaw it out and you don't want to waste it, okay? So I think smaller amounts are better. But yes, I do that. I make up a bunch of pesto and freeze it into little, some of them are even, sometimes I do multiple kinds of pestos, with different nuts and seeds, and then I'll freeze them into 2 tablespoon, like little sauce containers, and those are fun. Then I get to have a variety. So just a little tip about the culinary, use the basil, and of course basil has so many magical applications, and I have done a separate video about that, but just to summarize here, it is associated with attracting money and wealth. And why does it do that? Is that just an old superstition? Well, I don't think so. I mean, maybe some people didn't understand why, but I think that basil really does help us to access our abundance capabilities. It helps us to become more of a money magnet, because basil helps to clear and energize your mind. And that's true whether you're drinking a tea made from it or adding it to your pasta sauce or whatever it is. It's invigorating, and especially mentally and physically. Also, it does invigorate physically. It gives some energy. And if you are invigorated mentally and physically, and especially if your mind is clear and it's creative and receptive and open and in an active kind of way, basil is not a passive energy, it's very active, then of course you're going to be more likely to attract or go out and do something to earn more money, okay? So there's a lot of actual logic, maybe even potential science, if our science ever gets around to studying it. There's a lot of reasoning to why these plants work the way they do magically. But of course you don't have to always know the reason. Sometimes it's enough to just try it and see what happens. So yeah, if you begin to enter into partnership with basil, I was going to say work with it, and that's fine, but most people don't understand, I think, when I say work with it, what I mean enter into a partnership with the plant, collaborate. You want to listen to it, let it talk to you about what it wants to be used for you. Plants don't talk like we do because they don't have vocal cords, but they communicate. You could say telepathically, but I know that's really nebulous word. We don't always know what that even means, some of us. I mean, I do because, I'm into these things, but I really feel the connection with most plants is primarily, or at least initially, through the heart chakra. So that's a way to think of it. Think of it, you are connecting with the heart. Now with a tree, especially a large tree, the connection starts more from the lower chakras. Usually I feel even the feet. So you can kind of just think with a tree that you're tuning in through your feet first and then opening up to the rest of the aura, okay? But with a plant like this, a smaller plant, okay, I'm connecting through the heart. And when I have approached this, and I know I didn't film this today, but when I pick this plant up, I'm first connecting in my heart. I'm feeling it before I even touch it. I'm connecting in my heart as I'm walking towards it. And then I might also connect in my mind, in my higher chakras, or just my mind, okay? Where is the mind? It's funny, we always point up here to our brain. Maybe that's because we think the mind is connected to the crown. I don't know, but the mind could be everywhere, okay? However you do it, though, I guess what I'm saying is with my intention. I send that out ahead of time. And by the way I work with plants, as I explained in my earlier video, the way I collaborate, partner with them, enter into relationship, I don't just take from them because I feel like taking from them. I do not take from my plants. I receive graciously. They offer me their gifts. They tell me when it is time to harvest. These plants have told me, this one has said it's time to be cut back. These two, there's two in there. I'm not sure. I think that one of them just wants to go, okay? But I might just cut him back a little and see what happens if they're okay with that. But yeah, don't take a colonialism mindset and an oppressive mindset and put it into your relationship with your plants. Not if you want healing, not if you want them to taste good in the foods. No, they're not going to work as good for you. Hello? Okay. I mean, how would you work? I mean, they may not be human, but they have some similarities, or we have some similarities to them, might be more accurate to say, because they're more ancient than us. So how would you feel, though? I'm not saying they feel like we do. They feel differently, though. They do have a consciousness, and they don't like just being used. I don't think most creatures, plants, most, even a rock, probably, I don't know, maybe one here and there, but mostly creation doesn't want to just be used. I mean, it's funny because we do want to help each other. We do want to be utilized, but yeah, it's just a little icky if you're just using your plants. Okay, I think that's icky. All right, maybe you don't, and if you don't, that's okay. I guess whatever works for you is what works for you. So who am I to say, what works for you? I'm just sharing what works for me, and a lot of people who eat my dishes that I make utilizing the herbs, or a lot of my loved ones who have tried my tinctures or certainly my teas, they say there's a healing power to them. I mean, they do offer to pay me money for them. I don't usually take that, of course, from a loved one, because it's not about that exchange. It's about, the love exchange. Again, the love exchange with the plant and the adventure. Actually, there is an adventure that happens if you go on when you grow a plant and when you harvest. So, yeah, going back to basil, it's probably about time to harvest, and I hope that you have grown some. It's one of the easier plants to grow in many regions, okay? Maybe not where you're at, I don't know. Maybe you have something different than basil that you like to grow. I do too, by the way, but basil just keeps coming back. I guess I must need the help, with the clearing of the mind constantly, or maybe I just like it. I like pesto. And yeah, I like to be abundant, and I do use basil also in certain kinds of cleansing baths. That would be psychic purification I'm talking about, energy cleansing. I have all different kinds of herbs that I'll use in those all different kinds of baths. It kind of depends on the nature of the cleansing needed. But if the mind is stagnant, okay, if you're feeling like dull, if there aren't that many thoughts, or you just, it's like you can't even look for a dopamine hit. You don't even care about pleasure anymore, okay? If you kind of get into that state of being, basil is one of the herbs that's good for that. And you can simply, I'm going to make it simple for you. There's a lot of ways, but you can simply use the fresh or dried leaves to make a tea. And I think it's worth growing your own basil for this, or at least getting it from a friend or an herbalist that that takes good care of their plants. A lot of times I'll go into certain stores, that sell these herbs for magical purposes. It just depends on the store. But listen, I've done readings out of some of these in the past, and I know that some of those herbs have sat on the shelves for like 10 years, okay? And which I think there's still probably some power, but what would you rather have for your cleansing bath? I mean, first of all, just the aroma when you make it into a tea. But what would you rather have, like a packet of dried herbs that was, grown God knows where, and, maybe could have even been sprayed, or, a nice little tea made from your own dried herbs that you grew on your patio or your windowsill, or even inside if it's winter, or in your yard, or maybe you got it from a friend, or, at least an herbalist that again, is taking good care of their plants. Yeah, I think that would be the better option, don't you? So, anyway, some things to think about, and hope you're enjoying this season of green, the time of rejuvenation. I know it's hot, but our bodies need the heat to prepare for winter, especially those of us that live in places where there's winter. The sweating is good. It is sacred. And, that whole respiration that we get in summer, it's like an enhanced respiration. I know sometimes it doesn't feel enhanced. Sometimes, where I live at, we get humidity. Not as bad as where some of you all live at, but yeah, we get humidity and heat. And then sometimes we get dry and heat. We go back and forth. Yes, I know it's tough on some people, but also it is good on our bodies overall to have different experiences in nature. This is how we have evolved biologically, and it's part of putting ourselves back into the template, the blueprint of perfect health and well-being. Climate-controlled environments are great for comfort, but in terms of like being in them all the time, that is not activating our template for healing, our evolutionary template for healing, what we have received. So as we have grown as a species. So yeah, try to get outside some when you can. I'm just going to keep saying that, okay? It's so healing. It's so healing. Whatever season you like. But preferably all seasons, try to get a little bit. When it's not dangerous, of course, don't put yourself in danger. I'm sure our ancestors, whoever your ancestors are, I'm sure they sought shelter when, things were a little bit too intense. So of course you do that. But also when it's just, a little uncomfortable or maybe comfortable, get outside. And that in and of itself is healing. There's free healing available. It's free. Just walk on the grass if you can, or touch a tree, or smell one of these beautiful plants. I mean, look at this. Just look at this. Interacting with that. And of course, you can bring it inside. It's not the same. I grow some plants inside all winter long. It helps me to get through the winter, but it's not the same. So get outside and see the birds. I just saw a beautiful cardinal fly by. I mean, I don't have that in my house, okay? I do have some parrots, but not a cardinal, okay? Alrighty. Well, until next time, I'm just hoping you're enjoying this season of beauty, of rejuvenation, of warmth. Let it warm your heart and let the love overflow and just bring you joy and peace. Right? Blessings.